Hello, friends. In this footage, we see how a swarm of 3 interceptor mosquitoes chase a Russian kamikaze drone, Shaheb, which is successfully intercepted by the first one. But the shock wave reaches the 3rd mosquito, which still manages to regain control, identifying a second target, after which it launches at full speed, achieving a successful interception. This video shows us the chaotic and complex scenario of aerial robotic combat over the skies of Ukraine. This is beautiful. The Tashka Unmanned Systems Unit carried out a successful attack in the rear of the horde, using a fiber-optically guided Mosquito, which managed to completely destroy an important warehouse of the invaders that contained approximately 10,000 Russian attack drones and around 10 transport vehicles, among Chinese golf carts and Z drone unit buggies. In the footage, we see the first Mosquito entering the facility, flying over the interior among stacked boxes, clearly identified as drone storage, before detonating in the fuel tank of a buggy, which caused a widespread fire that led to secondary explosions. Thermal reconnaissance images confirmed the complete destruction of the logistics center. This distribution center was apparently a collection point coordinated by volunteers near the contact line, and it contained enough drones for months of operation for the attack units of the horde. A Mosquito-type vampire from the 14th Chervona Kalina Brigade set up a series of mines along a cemetery road, which were successfully found by a column of raiders on motorcycles and by a quad that was trying to slip between the defenders' positions at night. Once the vehicles were destroyed, the remaining motorcyclists received the attention of the brigade's mutant mosquitoes. But look on the bright side. At least the invaders' wives will receive an apartment for their sacrifice. In this footage, the Mosquito operators of the 2nd Battalion of the 66th Mechanized Brigade are in their patrol area. An unmanned ground vehicle of the horde, on which Ivan had mounted a guided anti-tank launcher, was apparently heading to attack a fortified position of the defenders, so it was promptly sent to the invaders' robot heaven, in quite a spectacular fashion, I must add. During the early hours of February 22, Ukraine's unmanned systems forces destroyed a series of 3 targets in the Donbass, including 2 Russian TOR surface-to-air missile systems, one of which was located on the outskirts of the city of Donetsk, operating in its air defense role, although clearly it didn't see what was coming at it. Simultaneously, operators from the first center completely destroyed a second TOR with 2 hits near the settlement of Topolin on the outskirts of Mariupol. Each TOR launcher has an estimated value of approximately $25 million, which means a total loss exceeding $50 million in a single day of action. These short-range systems are vital for protecting the invading ground forces, the artillery positions, and the top-tier long-range SAMs like the S-300 and S-400 from drones, cruise missiles, and manned Ukrainian aircraft. Finally, operators from the first center also attacked a major oil depot in Luhansk. This facility was actively used by Russian forces to supply fuel to the frontline units on that front. Secondary explosions and fires were observed after the Mosquito hit. During the night of February 16th to 17th, the Ukrainian Defense Forces carried out a precision strike with strategic attack Mosquitoes that hit and destroyed a K-27 multi-role naval helicopter of the Z Navy near the settlement of Kamishli on the Crimean Peninsula. The General Staff confirmed a direct hit on the target, which was supported by images showing the helicopter moments before the impact. The K-27 NATO designation Helix is a Soviet naval helicopter specialized in anti-submarine warfare, maritime reconnaissance, and naval support. And it is one of the Horde's rarest and most specialized assets. Its loss represents a significant blow to Ivan the Pirate's naval capabilities in the Black Sea, where these devices are key for detecting underwater drones and for protecting what remains of his fleet. In the same raid, an FP-2 Mosquito with a 60-kilogram warhead encountered a launcher from an S-300 anti-aircraft battery, which also received the attention that every invader deserves. This system only costs around $100 million, so Ivan surely won't miss it. Or will he? The dismantling of Crimea's air defenses continues to operate day after day. On the night of February 20th to 21st, operators from the 1st Separate Center of Unmanned Systems, in coordination with the Deep Strike Center, destroyed a Tornado-S multiple rocket launcher 9K515 in the Zaporizhia Oblast. The Mosquito operator observes the launch of a rocket salvo from the system, so he adjusts his course to intercept it, which he accomplishes before the unit manages to leave its combat position. So its crew was surely inside the vehicle. A second Mosquito that was approaching recorded the impact, confirming the destruction of the vehicle. The media outlets Defense Blog and Militaire.ni indicated that this is an unusual elimination, since the Tornado-S is one of the most advanced rocket launcher platforms of the Horde. In a parallel operation during the same night, other Mosquitoes attacked a key oil depot in Bardiska, Simferopol district, Crimean Peninsula. That facility served as a vital fuel supply node for the invading troops stationed on the peninsula. Therefore, the attack disrupted the supply of fuel and lubricants, which directly affected the mobility and maintenance of Russian forces on the peninsula and on the Dnipro River front. This is something that is rarely seen within the front area, and it is the responsibility of the 411th Regiment of Unmanned Systems Falcons. The invaders tried to carry out a series of mechanized assaults with tanks and armored vehicles, as if they hadn't learned anything in the last 4 years. Of course, the defenders went out to work in a coordinated way to detect, identify, and progressively attack all the armored vehicles of the illegal tourists. Starting with the tanks, then moving on to the infantry fighting vehicles, which, despite being completely covered with fairly solid anti-drone cages, were destroyed. Only during February, the operators of the 411 Regiment carried out 3,348 combat sorties and attacked 1,170 targets. And while we watch this video, the numbers keep increasing. To finish, Sergei returns home after stopping the invaders for several months, and he is welcomed as he deserves by Angela, who can't contain her joy. Every defender deserves an Angela and a warm home to return to. These kinds of videos are increasing, which gives me hope that finally the veterans are coming home on leave. Hello, friends. The Ukrainian Air Force reported that at 4 a.m. on February 20th, they successfully neutralized a Russian Su-34 fullback bomber. During an operation in the Zaporizhia region, the plane was shot down while it was preparing to carry out a glide bomb attack against the city of Zaporizhia. The shoot-down was confirmed by Russian military bloggers, including Fighter Bomber, with his classic message. The Su-34 came from the Russian air base in Armavir and was apparently intercepted by a Patriot missile battery, which seems to be operating in several parts of the front. Just a few days ago, another Su-34 was shot down over the sea near Odessa. Each Fulvak is worth $50 million per unit, and Mordor has lost about 50 units since the beginning of the invasion. This type of aircraft is essential for the invaders, since they use it to launch long-range glide bombs, with some variants having an extended range of up to 200 kilometers, which they use to weaken logistics and frontline defenses. It's interesting to see how the Ukrainians are using some of the most capable Western anti-aircraft systems in a more offensive role to weaken Ivan's air forces. This is interesting. 2 warriors from the Morok Assault Group of the 225th Assault Regiment of Ukraine managed to capture 6 invaders from the 114th Motorized Rifle Regiment during a close-quarters assault against their positions. Footage captured by an observation drone shows the duo of defenders advancing through snowy terrain. Then they used explosives, cornering the Russians inside their fortified shelters. The tourists, including a platoon commander, decided that they actually didn't want to keep playing at invasion, so they quickly handed over their weapons and surrendered when they were given the chance to survive, which highlights the growing exhaustion of the frontline invading units. And it reflects a trend from recent months, where a growing number of Russian soldiers prefer to surrender rather than continue suffering mistreatment from their commanders and being sent on missions with little chance of survival. This is teamwork. A reconnaissance drone detected the presence of 2 Z invaders inside a stronghold in the gray zone. After requesting the deployment of an infantry group to clear the position, the operators sent a swarm of attack drones to soften up the intruders, to keep them busy while the assault group arrived, which finished the job with grenades and rifles. Great coordination between both forces, which allows the valuable lives of the defenders to be kept safe. On the front of strategic attacks, during the early hours of February 21st, the unmanned systems forces carried out a long-range precision strike against the Botkinsk machinery construction plant in the Republic of Udmurtia using FP-5 Flamingo cruise missiles. The target was this critical defense facility located about 1,300 kilometers from the border with Ukraine, which shows us the growing deep strike capability. The Botkinsk plant produces several of Russia's most strategically important ballistic missile systems, including the Iskander-M tactical ballistic missiles, which are widely used against Ukrainian civilian and military targets, RS-24, YARS, intercontinental ballistic missiles, Bulava submarine-launched ballistic missiles, Topol-M, and components for the Oreshnik and Kinzhal systems. Satellite images confirm significant damage to Workshop 19, where stamping and electroplating processes take place, which are essential for forming the missile bodies before assembly. The attack caused a large breach in the roof, approximately 30 by 24 meters, and the damage pattern indicates that the 1,000-kilogram warhead detonated internally, probably causing the complete destruction of the internal production areas. So the missile manufacturing cycle should have been interrupted. In the early morning of February 23rd, long-range SBU drones successfully attacked the Kalykino oil pumping station, located near Almatyevsk, in the Republic of Tatarstan, Russia, more than 1,200 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Local witnesses confirmed at least 6 powerful explosions, followed by a large-scale fire that affected several crude oil storage tanks. Geolocated videos show columns of flames and black smoke visible from several kilometers away. The fire remained active and out of control hours after the initial impact. The Kalykino station, operated by Transneft, is a critical strategic node as it receives oil from western Siberia and the Volga region. It mixes it and pumps it into the Druzhba pipeline, which is the main export route to Central Europe, including Hungary and Slovakia, whose respective presidents have insisted on pressuring Ukraine to allow the resumption of oil transit through that route, since a prolonged interruption would significantly complicate the energy supply for those nations. I don't know what you all think, but I believe that attack makes it pretty clear what the defenders think about allowing Russian oil to flow through that pipeline again. It's probably also a message to Orban and Fico, meaning that their threats to boycott the European aid package have no influence on the defenders' military decisions. In the early morning of February 19th, 2026, drones from the Alpha Special Operations Unit of the Security Service of Ukraine carried out a precision strike against the Russian oil depot in Velikiye Luki, or Vlastevskov, about 500 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. The attack managed to break through the anti-drone nets and scaffolding set up over multiple fuel tanks that the Horde had installed to protect them from this kind of incursion. The attackers caused multiple explosions and a large-scale fire that devastated much of the facility. Eyewitness videos captured an impressive column of flames and black smoke lighting up the night, while satellite images later revealed extensive areas on fire throughout the facility, contradicting the initial Russian statements that the damage had been limited to just one tank. The Velikiye Luki depot serves as a key logistical hub for products like diesel and gasoline, from where these fuels are distributed to the units of the Horde participating in the invasion. On the morning of February 21, 2026, Ukrainian forces carried out a precision strike against an electrical components plant in Saransk, Republic of Mordovia, about 800 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. This plant is one of the main Russian producers of power electronics, including rectifiers, inverters, power supplies, converters, transformers, and specialized electrical equipment. These components have a dual purpose because beyond their civilian uses, they are also used in the production of drones, missiles, combat vehicles, and other defense technologies. Eyewitness images reported a major fire on the plant's grounds around 10 o'clock local time, accompanied by a thick column of black smoke visible throughout the entire industrial area. In this video, United 24 shows us how Ukrainian families today live in two realities. While the wife takes care of the home front, her husband defends Ukraine on the battlefield. The video shows their two parallel stories, from how they start their day, who they share it with, and the activities they have to do. Different in circumstances, but united in one purpose: to survive the war and defeat the invader. Hello friends, we start with a video from the Ukrainian unmanned systems company, Tenkor Limited Liability Company, where they show us how ground drones could revolutionize mechanized combat by integrating combined units with tanks and infantry transports, thus creating a protective ecosystem for manned vehicles. In the Tenkor video, different versions of the modular ground system TERMIT, equipped with sensor modules, electronic warfare domes, and combat modules, protect a formation of tanks and ground combat vehicles, infantry, neutralizing battlefield threats as they advance in a coordinated manner. Obviously, this is still a concept, but it's clear that the defenders are already working on creating mobile combat networks, which will surely be tested in battle against the invading forces, allowing them to identify their strengths and weaknesses in a century of accelerated innovation. It wouldn't be surprising if we end up seeing these swarms of ground robotic systems working autonomously. Now we'll see an impressive recording from March 2022, just released, showing a video filmed by a member of a Russian Rosgvardia Special Forces unit, capturing the exact moment when a K-52 attack helicopter is shot down by a Ukrainian man-portable air defense system's portable anti-aircraft missile, launched from the town of Irpin. This is either laughable or something to cry about. An attack helicopter encounters two Z technicians on the roof who were installing an antenna and goes after them. But the first one shuts the door on his colleague and leaves him as an offering for the Strix unit operators. You know it? The Russians never leave anyone behind. This is what we could call a close encounter of the third kind. This time, it's between attack drones from the 32nd Mechanized Brigade taking out a Chinese golf cart full of invaders. That truck was packed with invaders. Hiding in the trenches doesn't help much either when the defenders are determined to complete their daily quota of prey. You should have stayed home, Ivan. Another throwback video in which we see a drone from the Heights Predator Unmanned Systems Battalion, part of the 59th Assault Brigade, visually confirming the remains of a Russian Mi-8 helicopter near Kotlyarivka, Donetsk Oblast. The one that was shot down by a drone on September 29, 2025, while flying at very low altitude to evade the defenders' anti-aircraft fire. Of course, the invaders reported at the time that the helicopter had made a controlled descent. But come on, I think we can all agree that landing was anything but controlled. On the Black Sea front, the defenders successfully carried out a nighttime raid on February 21st, targeting 2 Okhotnik-class patrol vessels operated by the Coast Guard of the Federal Security Service, or Federal Security Service of Mordor. The attack took place in the port area of Sevastopol. The Ukrainian General Staff confirmed hits on both vessels by FP-2 attack drones accompanied by thermal images showing 2 modern 630-ton patrol vessels in the crosshairs. These vessels are relatively scarce, since Ivan the Pirate only has about 14 in service throughout the country. They are designed to carry out long-range coastal patrols for border security and anti-submarine tasks. During the same operation, 2 BE-12 male amphibious anti-submarine aircraft were also attacked at the Yevpatoria aviation repair plant. This is interesting. The Unmanned Systems Forces officially presented Killzone, a free web-based reconnaissance and target designation simulator built entirely with real drone footage from the front. Launched on February 21st, Killzone immerses players in the task of detecting and accurately marking invaders' equipment, such as tanks, artillery, command vehicles, and fortified positions, which are heavily camouflaged in real landscapes of forests, devastated fields, ruins, and destroyed villages. The simulator gamifies the critical process of reconnaissance, where each mission presents a timed challenge taken from real operations of different brigades and regiments. Players are scored based on accuracy, speed, and the quality of target marking, which are exactly the same criteria that determine whether an attack drone can neutralize a threat before it fires first. Although the interface is in Ukrainian, the site is fully playable on mobile devices and computers using the browser's automatic translation tools. On the main page, you can see that users progress through levels and can ask the virtual commander for help when the target is especially difficult to detect. Killzone serves a dual purpose. First, to educate the global public about the cognitive load and visual skill required of an intelligence specialist. And second, to democratize basic recognition training, broadening the collective understanding of why each correctly identified target can save lives and destroy the forces of the invaders. I'll put the game link in the video description if you want to see if you can be an intelligence specialist for the defenders. On the logistics front, Germany, France, Great Britain, Italy, Poland, and Sweden have agreed on the joint development and production of loitering munitions with a range of up to 500 kilometers. The agreement was signed in Berlin during the meeting of NATO defense ministers. The project will be carried out under the European Long-Range Strike Approach initiative to develop long-range conventional weapons. The project is known as One-Way Effector 500+. The idea is to quickly carry out a study to develop a common low-cost platform that can be equipped with already available munitions. The missiles would be produced in each of the user countries to scale up production more quickly and to ensure continuous manufacturing in case one of the plants is attacked, or, as the Russians say, suffered a major failure due to undetermined causes, or, as the rest of us would say, it was simply sabotaged. The idea is to develop a low-cost weapon that can be deployed in large numbers to overcome enemy air defenses. For this, the one-way effector, 500 plus, should be able to carry payloads of 50 kilograms to targets at a distance of up to 500 kilometers. To keep costs as low as possible, one of the proposals is to use conventional 155mm artillery shells as warheads for the weapon. It was reported that the target unit price of the systems would be around $50,000. According to the German outlet Hardpunk, this loitering munition should also have autonomous capabilities, allowing a single operator to deploy several dozen of these systems. The specifications and requirements have been developed together with the Ukrainian armed forces, who defined the criteria they need in a weapon of these characteristics. We'll see if European industry can produce a weapon meeting these requirements. Saving every life is important, even more so when it's an innocent life. That's why two defenders stopped in a very dangerous area to help a poor puppy that was trapped in the nets, protecting the roads leading to the front, from which it was carefully rescued by its saviors. Hello, friends. Two helicopters from the Army Aviation of the Defenders make a puppy very happy as it watches them take off. Then they launch at maximum military speed over the snowy fields of eastern Ukraine to deliver a load of 70mm rockets to the invader. This footage is extraordinary, as it shows a time-lapse sequence of a massive air attack by the Horde on Kiev, which was filmed from the International Space Station. In the footage, you can see the trajectories of the ballistic missiles and the activity of the air defense systems over the capital and the surrounding region. This footage was taken during the night of December 26th to 27th, 2025, when Russia attacked Ukraine with 10 Iskander and Kinjal ballistic missiles and 30 cruise missiles, including the Ku-101 Iskander-K and Ku-22. This footage provides further evidence of the indiscriminate attacks by the invaders against Ukrainian cities. Ivan's crimes against civilians are so severe they can be seen from space. A Z tourist was very tired from invading, so he went to sleep and asked not to be woken up before noon. But nobody told this Mosquito, who made sure to send him to sleep forever, so no one will ever bother him again. Sweet dreams, Ivan. Meanwhile, in another sector of the front, two BMPs from the Horde received their promotion to the Federation Space Forces, including the appointment of at least 4 cosmonauts who took off to infinity and beyond. Fly high, Ivan. Recorded incidents of ground robotic systems directly participating in combat against the invaders' infantry are becoming more frequent. In this case, an unmanned ground vehicle from the 32nd Mechanized Brigade, armed with a heavy machine gun, eliminates 2 Z infantry soldiers without much trouble. Apparently, the action took place at the maximum range of the machine gun, since the second soldier didn't realize he was under attack, which may mean the sound hadn't reached him before he was taken down. Someone needs to give Ivan an intensive course on situational awareness. Those silhouettes were way too perfect. Assault robots are coming to clear the trenches of the Horde without using up ammunition. We will now show you a secret video about the ultra-special forces Putin is sending into the assault of the NATO elite forces who, according to Russophiles, are fighting against their masters in Ukraine. Among the advanced tactics they are using is one that involves the use of a third wooden leg, which they hope will confuse and spread terror among the enemy. Seriously though, these poor guys can barely move and would hardly be a threat in a fight against the defenders due to their limited mobility. But that doesn't stop Ivan from sending these special troops into the attack, because they can attract the attention of the Mosquitoes, or clear some area of the front, allowing the real Russian assault troops to have a better chance of infiltrating the defenders' rear. I hope to know that their ritual sacrifice will help their colleagues give much more encouragement to these attackers. The zombie apocalypse has arrived. On the front of strategic sanctions against the Z oil industry, the fire at the Calais-Kino oil pumping station near the village of Almetievsk, which is a critical node of the Druzhba 1 pipeline system, continues to burn out of control for the third consecutive day after the long-range drone attack carried out by Ukraine in the early morning of February 23, 2026. But to keep the party going and show Orban and Fico how little their threats against Ukraine matter, the defenders launched another wave of attack drones against the facilities during the early morning of February 24, which once again turned the fire into dragon mode. The facility, located near Almetievsk and more than 1,200 kilometers from Ukrainian territory, serves as a critical hub for the Druzhba pipeline, handling approximately 1 million barrels per day of crude oil from western Siberia and the Volga region, destined for export, including the markets of Central Europe. Fighters from the 2nd Battalion of the 101st Brigade General Staff Guard are carrying out clearing operations of positions occupied by the invaders within the urban area of Kupiansk, using improvised demolition charges made by joining 2 anti-tank mines. To carry out this task, one of the defenders must run to one of the entrances to the position and throw the demolition charge inside, which is extremely dangerous as it leaves him exposed to the fire of the trapped invaders. To minimize this risk, the sapper's colleagues cover him with rifles from different angles to react to any threat to his safety. Thanks to the teamwork of the defenders, the task was accomplished, so the invaders were turned into an Etruscan mural on the wall of their stronghold. The 425th Separate Assault Regiment Scala released images today showing rescue operations carried out by their unit of ground robotics systems in one of the most intense sectors of the front. In the video, you can see the combined work between the operators of an unmanned ground vehicle successfully rescuing wounded Ukrainian defenders from positions within the zero line in extreme conditions, both due to the weather and the actions of the attack vultures of the invading horde. Operating along routes and hideouts that span dozens of kilometers across snowy terrain over which both sides fight bitterly. The rescue mission carried out by the ground drone requires the operators to maintain uninterrupted concentration for many hours, relying on the proven endurance of the robotic platform to face the threats of the battlefield and the effects of environmental conditions. Every meter closer to the contact line, without exposing more personnel to enemy drone and artillery fire, allows us to save more lives, declared a representative of the regiment. Our robotic systems do not replace bravery, but multiply it by protecting those who are risking everything for Ukraine. By integrating proven robotic platforms into the casualty evacuation chains, the Scala Regiment continued developing tactics that allow them to preserve the lives of their experienced fighters while maintaining defensive lines during the brutal urban fighting around Pokrovsk. And speaking of evacuation robots, in a precise special night operation, the operators of the elite Disney Squad unit of the Security Service of Ukraine managed to capture an invader while clearing an enemy position. Since none of the unit's operators could escort the prisoner to the rear, they simply tied his hands and feet and loaded him onto a DevDroid-class drone, which comfortably transported him to a meeting point with the team of robotic system operators who recovered the valuable drone while also taking custody of the prisoner to bring him to the rear. Why go through so much trouble? Well, because the unit's scoring system changed and now a live invader gives more points than a neutralized one. And the points are valuable because they can be exchanged for equipment for the unit. So now, whenever possible, they try to capture Ivan. A courtesy that the invaders don't extend to the defenders, whom the orcs usually eliminate whenever they get the chance. Hello, friends. On the 4th anniversary of the Z invasion, the Ministry of Defense and the Royal Air Force of the United Kingdom launched a training program for experienced Ukrainian military pilots to qualify them as flight instructors on Western helicopters. This is the first time that Britain has provided rotary wing instructor training for Ukraine, expanding the successful fixed-wing instructor program. As part of Operation Interflex, the course, which will be conducted at an undisclosed Royal Air Force air base in central England, will provide the best Ukrainian helicopter pilots with the pedagogical and technical skills necessary to independently train future generations of Western-type helicopter pilots within their country. This will reduce Ukraine's dependence on allied countries' programs and strengthen their Army aviation units. This apparently is related to the upcoming transfer of Sea King helicopters and up to 10 Puma Helicopter 2ES by the United Kingdom, which could be joined by German Naval Sea Lynx helicopters and Australian Tiger attack helicopters, if everything goes well in the coming months. One of the main missions currently carried out by Army aviation helicopters is the interception of Shahed attack drones, as demonstrated by the crew of an Mi-8 HIB helicopter, who managed to destroy 8 of Ivan's vultures during the massive attack carried out by the Horde in the early hours of February 26th. Operating under the guidance of Air Defense Network Control operators, the pilots of these aircraft followed interception routes at different altitudes. Thanks to this, the side gunners had the opportunity to shoot down the raiders. Given this mission, it's easy to see why some aircraft have over 100 shootdowns. Because of their effectiveness, Ivan hates these helicopters and is now targeting them by mounting missiles on his attack vultures. Speaking of predators, a Ukrainian Mosquito is on the hunt and starts stalking a position where it suspects some invaders are hiding. Those who, upon hearing it flying nearby, stay well hidden in the ruins. So the defender, realizing the situation, decides to land to avoid making more noise. The ambush works because one of the Z tourists, not hearing the Mosquito's buzzing, decides to come out without realizing that it was just a few meters away from him, waiting for him to move a bit further so he wouldn't be able to hide again. When he takes off again, Ivan doesn't realize it's behind him until it's already too late. From another angle, you can clearly see how the ambush works.
Pat a bum, motherfucker.
The ambush tactic also works against motorized orcs, like this pair moving quickly along a road near Pokrovsk, where a Mosquito was enjoying the sun. But when he sees Ivan pass by, he knows it's time to get to work. Disarming both invaders with one surgical strike, the Mosquito operators from the 82nd Air Assault Brigade send their Mosquitoes, guided by fiber optics, into a shed where 3 orcs are hiding. So they proceed to quickly clear out the invading plague, using a swarm that works in coordination to take care of all the visitors. You can tell that this team of defenders really enjoys their daily work, since they took the time to include some memes to make the sequence more interactive. It's so nice when you wake up day after day looking forward to going to work. In this footage, we see a funeral convoy for a Russian 2S5 Gatsint S self-propelled howitzer, which was severely damaged during the fighting on the Donbass front. It can be seen that a drone or an artillery strike gave it a pretty charred look and extensive structural damage. It will take time to return to service, but will likely become a source of spare parts for other similar pieces still in use. The 2S5 Gitsint S is a Soviet 152mm cannon with a range of 28 kilometers and capable of firing up to 6 shells per minute. The 3rd Assault Brigade confirmed on February 26th the successful execution of Operation Samurai, a sophisticated assault raid carried out by 3 ground kamikaze robots loaded with explosives, sent to neutralize 3 fortified positions of the invaders. During the confrontation, the illegal tourists tried to neutralize the Ukrainian robotic systems advancing toward them by using attack drones, airdrop munitions, and a sustained artillery bombardment. However, despite the strong defensive response, 2 of the advanced ground robots managed to keep advancing, successfully maneuvering through the gray zone of the front. Where they finally reached the rear area, where they delivered their explosive payloads directly onto designated targets, which apparently were a command post and a fortified Russian position. The operation was carried out by operators from the NS-13 unit of the brigade, which specializes in the use of unmanned ground vehicles, becoming one of the most innovative and battle-tested robotic warfare formations in the armed forces of Ukraine. Established in September 2025, NS-13 has rapidly evolved from its original support roles, which included logistics, casualty evacuation, and reconnaissance, to become an assault unit capable of attacking the frontline positions of the Horde, as in this case where one of its drones surprises a group of invaders under a bridge, turning the meeting into a rather abrupt farewell for the tourists. The Samurai operation represents the next stage of evolution in the way we protect our soldiers while inflicting maximum damage on the occupier, declared a spokesperson for the brigade. When the enemy floods the battlefield with artillery fire and drones, we simply send machines that do not fear, do not bleed, and do not retreat. This is the new reality of war, and Ukraine is writing the rules. On the logistics front, the government of Canada announced a new military assistance package of $2 billion for the fiscal year 2026-2027, and which considers as a central element the transfer of 66 new General Dynamics land systems, Lab 6 Bison armored personnel carriers, and 383 Rochelle Senator armored vehicles, of which more than 2,000 have already been delivered so far, and which is highly valued for its mechanical reliability, great mobility, and adaptability in high-threat environments. The new versions will be of an improved version built on a Ford 550 chassis, which was developed based on lessons learned from the war and which offers better protection against drones and greater mechanical reliability. In addition, Canada has extended its financial contribution and technical participation in Operation Unifier until 2029, which trains Ukrainian personnel in different ground and air combat specialties. The Lab 6 is the 4th generation of Canadian light armored vehicles, developed by General Dynamics Land Systems, and is based on the Lab 3 platform, to which important improvements were added derived from the Canadian Army's combat experience in Afghanistan. And these focus on better protection, greater mobility, improved weapon systems, and updated electronic capability. The Lab 6, or Armored Combat Support Vehicle, is used for troop and cargo transport, medical evacuation, command post, engineer vehicles, and as a platform for electronic warfare systems. Finally, the defenders know very well why they must keep fighting, because it would be the worst horror for these kids to have to grow up under the shadow of Ruskamir, instead of living in a free country fully integrated with Europe. They express love for their country by singing the Ukrainian national anthem. If you want to see additional content about the war in Ukraine, I invite you to visit our 2 new channels, where we present information about the war in a different format. Don't forget to visit them. Remember to check out our Patreon, where for just $1 you'll have access to a large number of uncensored videos and documentaries. Lastly, visit our store, where you can find items inspired by some of Ukraine's most outstanding units. Carry history with you, and with every purchase you'll be supporting the United 24 program, which directly supports reconstruction programs, aid to the civilian population, and defense. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel.